Hey guys, welcome to TGS. Today we're going to be looking over a gun. This is a junior gun. This is a Yildiz 410 Junior. There are more and more junior guns coming to the market. However, this is probably one of the most affordable of the lot. Let's see if it's any comp. So let's have a little look over it aesthetically. Starting with the junior stock, and this is I suppose what makes this thing junior. And we'll have a look at whether this is really appropriate or not at the end. It is a 13.5 inch, or it's 13 3/8 inch length of pull. It has quite a lot of dip in the toe. It has a hard plastic keel plate that is, to be fair, hand fitted and quite nicely so. The wood varies. You get some really nice ones, you get some really bland ones, but for the most part, they're going to be what a European gun maker or larger gun makers would call, grade 2, 2.5. I have seen some that, are well into grade 5, but that's luck of the draw. Laser checkered pistol grip, single selective trigger, and I quite like that you have a green vest instead of a red one. That might be on all Yildiz, to be fair, but it's nice. I love green paint. Trigger, small, same trigger and everything else. Trigger guard, silver with a light bit of etching on there. The action is alloy, as with all SPZs, apart from the SPZ steel. So that's not entirely true. As with all SPZ alloy, the action is alloy. The carving around the fences onto the barrels is actually really good on all these SPZs, and that's the thing that I kind of admire most about them, is that the aesthetic finish, in terms of metal work, is really good. The wood metal fit is subpar, but it's a £550 gun. I should say that right now. This is a very reasonably priced gun, brand new. You have laser engraved partridge on one side. On the base, you have a very wide-eyed retrieving dog carrying a partridge by the look of it. And on the off side, it's covered in partridge, this gun, isn't it? Very nice. A very partridgey gun with some scroll and so on and so forth. It is obviously lasered on there and it's not very deep, it's quite superficial, but because it's alloy, that is really got to be the case. It is not unpleasant, the detail is nice, the burrs look good. Again, you have to really take this whole gun with a pinch of salt, given that it's 550 quid. And that is quite telling in the wood finish. It is quite thick, it's quite good, it's quite deep, but you can tell that it's slapped on there and the wood is finished to a fairly high grade of grit, or a low grade of grit. But that is the case with many guns out there. So, there you go. Schnabel forend. This gun is a 26-inch barrel multi-choke. Weight-wise, this gun comes in with a 26-inch barrels and the 13 3/8 stock. CIP, steel-proofed. When you can get steel-proofed 410 loads, 3-inch chambers, and 10.2 bores. What was I saying? Probably nothing exciting. It weighs 5 pounds, 2 ounces overall, so it is not particularly lightweight, but it's lighter than most. If you're looking for a really lightweight gun, I think a single shot would probably be better, or a side-by-side. It's unavoidable in a modern over and under, certainly, that of this sort of quality, you're going to have very thick barrels to make them safe and to sort of guarantee a certain level of quality. That adds weight, the depth, the size of the stock and the action, it all adds weight. So, this would be a good first gun, but not for a super junior. You're going to be looking at something a bit smaller in the frame for that. Is it an appropriate junior gun on that note? Well, the answer is yes, I suppose. Trying to get your kid to have something that's a side-by-side, if you're an avid clay shooter and they've seen their dad / mum or / non-binary parent out shooting over and under all this time, the chance of them wanting to go and get a lightweight side-by-side is probably minimal. Probably minimal. So, is it an appropriate gun? Yes, quite probably, as long as they can handle the weight. Is the stock an appropriate spec? This is my only gripe with these junior guns, is they actually have a slightly lower comb than standard and they're shorter. And that's about it. having seen many juniors hold these guns with small hands, it might as well be a straight hand stock because it's such a swept back pistol grip that, be honest, is absolutely lovely. For a larger hand, they're having to crank their hand up on it to be able to shoot it properly. That in itself has its issues. The lowness of the comb, or the significant drop at comb, I mean, it's too low for me, even if you head right up the top. Not that I require too high a comb, but if you put your head down on it, you really can't see the bead. Children have a smaller gap there, and as such, generally need a higher comb. It's not going to be a big deal to stick a comb razor on here, but it would have been nice, as it is a junior gun, to see it perhaps with a very high comb, and understand that there's a whole host of issues if it was adjustable in terms of adding weight and blah blah blah, but you know, an extra ½ inch wouldn't have gone amiss. It has got, however, a little bit more cast than standard, which is nice. That counts for something. I mean, it's almost expecting juniors to lean back into the gun. Most juniors I see of any quality, certainly if they're coming to shooting at the right time, or you're getting this gun from the right time where it's not too much gun for them, they'll hold a gun properly. Now, such you could probably afford a little bit more toe. In fact, I would just rip the stock off and have a custom stock made if that wasn't obscene, or change the stock specs. Yildiz would be a wise-ish option, I think. What do you think? You hope this is where people might not back me up. That's not very good. Comes with a full set of 5 multi-chokes in a really unexciting cardboard and polystyrene case. Let's pop the stock off and have a look inside. So for those wondering, there's a little tab down in here. You press that, push this down, and that will drop your top lever straight. You do have a removable faceplate on this gun, which is kind of nice. On most alloy guns now, they will have started putting these in, whereas they didn't always have them to start with. Having removable steel parts where all of the pressure goes is wise. You also have interchangeable trunnions on this, so you can sort of retighten it somewhat without too much effort. To remove the stock is a 10mm, he says, 10mm jobber. And off you pop. So I believe the majority of these guns come as auto safeties, which is this bar just here. This is very easily removable. When you push the top lever over, as the spindle turns, it pushes this bar back, and the safety catch moves from spring position 1 to spring position 2. Internally, this gun is fairly similar to a Lamba. It's probably the best way of saying it. It's fairly similar to a Lamba. There are certain parts of it that's quality is not ideal, but for the most part, it's very, very good. There you go. I don't really have a lot bad to say about it. Things that do go wrong with them, from experience, is firing pins wear, but that happens with most guns. The lower quality of the mainsprings versus the bigger makers, you know, with extended use. This gun isn't made for extended use. Let's be quite honest. That you're not buying a 550 quid 410 Yildiz to last you years. You know, this is like a 3-year investment, maybe 4. And if you're buying it for longer, you're gonna certainly have to live up to the problems that may come with small action frame, lightweight, cheap ass guns. So, how does it work? Well, it's quite simple, really. This tongue here connects, and I'll put it together, to this bar here. When the gun is opened, I should fire it off at this point. That bar pushes straight back and pushes the hammers back, like this. Those hammers ride back under these top sears, and then as the gun is closed, the hammers move forward and are engaged with those sears. Quite clever, really, or extremely basic. What's quite nice about this gun on the 410 is that you have a strengthening bar runs through the middle of the action, so you can't actually see the side I'm looking at. So I'm hoping that they're the same. Obviously, they're the same. What happens when you push the safety off is you have, or the selector, is a very simple side-to-side movement of this trigger sear. When you move it forward, the large part connects with one sear, you pull the trigger, the hammer falls forward. It is mechanical, but also a bit of inertia at the same time. Like, the inertia will help it, but they are a mechanical trigger just by design. The design is that they fall off of the sear as you pull this up. And then as you drop the trigger back forward, the trigger sear falls, and then the back end of this big inertia block here falls into the same slot that the little bit went in as you push that safety forward. You pull the trigger, bang. There you go. That is probably the most simple and uninteresting action in the entire world, but that's kind of good, isn't it? Is you want simple and uninteresting, because if they tried to put in too much complex stuff into a basic cheap gun, guess what happens? They don't work properly. That's what happens. These rods here, by the way, that go from the hammers, come all the way through the bar, come forward here, connect into the fore end here, into the two little lifters that connect with the ejectors on your barrels. It's a really simple design. And as such, I say they go wrong. They really don't go wrong. There's not a lot to go wrong. It's just standard wear and tear and things that need to be replaced. And guess what? When that happens, from experience, the parts are cheap. So you just replace all the parts and you're back to square one, which is kind of better than having to fiddle and fettle, which is probably why these guns are a better choice to buy than some obscure brand that might save you a couple £100 second hand, because at least parts are available. Well, there you have it. A not particularly lightweight, not, where is it balanced, about an inch in front of the hinge pin. Again, you don't want to be adding too much extra weight to this, really. You might as well just buy the 28 bore, 26 inch, which is going to give you, well, more power, or you might as well just buy the 20 bore. Depends, really. This gun fits a very small market for 10. The reason you're going to buy one is the super low recoil versus the other two is not as versatile. Like I say, it really is a short-term investment as a junior gun, but an all-important stepping stone from a single shot to a big boy's gun, 20 bore, etc. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do your stuff, join as a member if you want. Guys, we'll see you soon.